question that has followed sports video games for the last 5 years or so. Really, I mean, you can go back to when Fortnite started popping off, because Fortnite changed the game of saying, hey, you just got to get the game once. There'll be add-ons and things, but you don't have to go to a store. You don't have to online get the new version of the game. You just have to install the new update. And there have been a lot of sports fans clamoring for that, in terms of, hey, don't make us keep buying the new game. Just make us install the update. Technology's at this point where you can just install the update and you're good to go. And maybe it's not quite there. We're at this point where we're so close with so many individuals, video games just being online downloads as opposed to needing to have the physical disc. But there's still a lot of technology, and hard drives and RAM are still needed to make this all happen. But I think that's where sports fans want sports video games to go. You talk about Madden. Hey, you don't have to get the new game every year. You have to just click the download button. But of course, at Madden HQ, there's all this, think about the people still who've been working there for decades. We have to sell copies. We have to do a new cover athlete. We have to do all of these new aspects every year. And that's where this all is coming to a head right now.
The Fortnite model is interesting. I'm almost positive it's never going to happen with sports games. I think there will be independent games that try this first, like Maximum Football, for example, because everyone wants a Madden alternative. Maximum Football, for example, did decide to go for free, and that's a video game that's formerly, if people don't know, like Doug Flutie was involved with in terms of like name branding. That partnership seems to no longer be there, but Maximum Football is basically like you can it's very much into like you can create your team, you can create like a whole bunch of creativity is like really the steez of it all. It seems like you can even play like CFL style, if I'm not mistaken, which is pretty interesting and fun. But like they went free. And I think that is going to be like, all right, we'll have add-ons along the way. And I feel like the AAA games and those organizations, those big organizations, I don't think they're going to do that, because I think instead of, I think they're not going to do that because the sales aren't taking enough of a hit to where they're going to change entirely. And they feel like enough people will buy the product anyway if it's, $79.99 or whatever it is now per year, deluxe editions notwithstanding, which are more. And I think that if they do ever decide to go the Fortnite route, it'd be interesting because I think people would be more like willing to do the microtransaction thing. They'd be more willing to sort of like, all right, I got it for free. I'll add on this, and this, and then I'll be good, instead of just buying it every single year. But I don't think I doubt that's going to happen. I mean, what do you think?
Well, I think that I wouldn't say, never say never is a broad way to put it. I think that we're seeing, we just keep seeing technology change. And I think, Bryan, we've been post college, about a decade now. And I go back to I remember I graduated college in 2015, and a few months in, I remember talking to people about Yahoo. And, I was working for a website that was very focused on getting our articles onto the Yahoo homepage. And I said in a meeting, what are we going to do when people stop getting Yahoo email addresses? And they were like, what are you talking about? People are always going to have Yahoo email addresses. And like, there's always, it's, and things have moved much faster, I think, technologically. As time goes on, things move much faster. And so I think that, this is something that these companies are going to have to review. You talked about the Fortnite model, and the reason the Fortnite model was financially not just successful, but wildly successful, is that, even though you only had to pay for the game was free. All of the add-ons in a year, or all of the assets that gamers were buying, were coming to a number way higher than if you just paid $59.99, $69.99, $79.99, whatever the game was worth at the time. And now these sports games are selling for much less. And, you already have the developers relying on in-game assets as well, kind of a hybrid model. So I think that as their hand is going to be continued to push, as technology, like we said, is getting to the point that every gamer is going to be downloading games, not needing to go to a store and buy a physical copy. and everything will be built right into the experience, I think then we'll at least be getting much closer to a world where it's, hey, I have the game, I got it once. What do I need to add on to have this experience? And there'll be tiers of games. There'll be, we're on a product right now talking. I don't know if you want to say what third party, what site you use to broadcast to create
If you
these
know,
videos.
you know.
But
if other people who use this, they know what I'm using.
But there's a base there's a base free version, right? And then if you want to have certain assets from a imagery standpoint, if you want to talk to more people, if you want to have a longer form conversation, then you need to pay a little bit more. So I think
Which I
that
do. Yes.
I think that is just such a model that the world is going in so many different ways. I mean, look at Hulu. It is another great example of, like, you can have the first version or you can buy the version without ads. Spotify's the same sort of way. You can have the free version of Spotify and listen to ads, or you can just make whatever the purchase is and not have ads. Amazon, you can ship stuff via Amazon, or you can pay for Amazon Prime and get all these assets and not have to pay for shipping throughout the year. And I know myself, I pay for Amazon Prime because I know that I would pay more in shipping if I didn't. But like, I think if sports video games just continue to hide behind this, they're not going to, they're going to lose fans and users. And you talked about that Doug Flutie game, and I still think games like Madden and NBA 2K are going so hard on name recognition, because licenses still matter, but there will be games that can get the team license maybe, but not the player's license, right? And then if you can still play Madden and you can still put yourself on the New York Giants, but you don't necessarily need Devin Singletary and Wan'Dale Robinson, will people care about that if they're able to just swipe their card once or not even swipe at all, have a free version, add-ons, and they're playing against their friends in these created team versions anyway? So that's where this is all coming to a head, that there'll need to be adjustments made. And I think the rights will play a big factor into that, because we've come to just accept that most, in the online era, one game per sport has really dominated. But when we were growing up there was no online, the NBA gave their license to NBA Live, EA Sports, 2K. Right there was like a Sega game, like NBA. NBA.
This is part of the issue. This is part of the problem.
Well, I think where you're saying that, I'd imagine, like so many people who feel like the lack of competition, the almost monopolizing of these games, has allowed these games not to feel like they need to innovate. I don't know if I agree with that wholeheartedly, because I feel like there's a divide. I work in golf a lot more now. I've equated the PGA Tour Live Golf debate that people will say, oh, well, competition's great. I'm like, no, it's not, because now neither product is as high as it needs to be. And I think in the online gaming world, and as we've tried to have esports for these games, it's been important that the games have, centralized, where all the gamers are together. And I think, you go cross-platform has been a big part of making that happen. These games creating cross-platform online environments, but I still think, but I think that these leagues won't be afraid to pass their licenses around a little bit more if there comes, some people come to the table and are willing to create these free-to-play models that we're talking about.
I would agree, except I can point to previous iterations, like the games we lament, the games that we miss from back in the day, are all in an era, or from an era, where there was some level of competition. For the most part, there was less competition, obviously, in the 2010s, but like, I remember the show and MLB 2K, being a thing. And the show clearly won out, and it was the better game. NBA Live and NBA 2K is the most famous one, because NBA Live was actually the dominant game. Like, there are people who don't even remember this, but NBA Live was actually the more high profile, the better game for a while. And that sort of switch happened in like the mid, not really, probably the late 2000s, whatever
Yeah,
the case may be.
100%.
Yeah. And then you have
But
like
why did it switch?
no, but I'm getting to a different point here. It's like, and then with football specifically, this is the big example to me. A lot of people, and I don't think this is hyperbole, a lot of people say that NFL 2K5 is the best football game ever made. It was the last 2K football game other than All Pro Football 2K8 that was made. And Madden has had the exclusivity deal since, and they kept renewing it, renewing it. I think the next one is either going to expire in 2026 or 2025. I think it's 2026. I'm almost certain it's 2026. But that's one example where to this day, people are like, I wish 2K made NFL game. Now, I wish NFL made 2K games. Now, I don't know if it's going to be what it was back then. Like there's a strong possibility that it's not going to be the case. But I do think competition can breed some special things when it comes to gaming. Look, I coming from somebody who's a wrestling fan, like the WWE has always been better when there's competition, when there's like legit competition. When WCW was competition, WWE stepped their game up and put them out of business. And then after they did, it got stagnant for a little while. TNA didn't become enough of a factor for them to really get pushed, although that may have helped a little bit. Now there's AEW that has a lot of money, but objectively, like AEW is just not a very good product, like at all. And it's poorly run. And while it looked like they could be challengers at one point, I don't think that's going to be the case because they're so mismanaged. But WWE has still stepped their game up regardless. So I do think competition in this arena could be helpful, but it doesn't look like there's a route to that now because of all the exclusivity deals. You're going to have to get like another major company to strike a deal with, like making a AAA game with this organization, getting the partnership. And I don't think it's in the league's best interest to do that just from a business standpoint, because I think they want one partner, one exclusive relationship, and they can make the most money out of them instead of just putting their license on all these other type of games.
You go back NFL 2K5. Well, what do we remember that made it so special? The ESPN integration was huge at the time. And this is peak ESPN. Like Chris Berman is in the game. It's like, what? Like, oh, sorry. Like, what? It's like,
right.
What? It was really good. Then there was, I remember there was the mode where you're in the helmet and, you kind of first person mode.
You had the crib. You had the crib. You get to battle Funk Flex's team and Carmen Electra's team. You had a draft with like, really in-depth things that you had to do from a scouting standpoint. The scouting reports in general, the playbooks for the time were actually good. The graphics, the animations, like it was ahead of its time. I have this on my phone right now. I have a PS2 emulator on my phone right now, and this game is part of it.
But kids today don't care about that stuff. Like, and I'm not saying obviously it would be different 19 years later, 20 years later, but kids today just care about the online experience, and they just care about showing their characters and their abilities off to their friends. So that's so much of what's driving video games now.
Let me ask you this. So is that why we're seeing ratings go down for games every year? Not sales, but like,
I think
what I just gave you in terms of Metacritic is just the focus on online play. Is that what's hurting the quality of games?
See, I would say not the quality, but I would say the sales, because I would say it just matters. Like, people don't care about the roster configuration like they used to. They don't care about the change of rosters. Like it's like I couldn't get after NBA Live, let's just say 2004. Like, I had to get NBA Live 2005 because Stephon Marbury was on the Knicks in the new game.
Right.
It's like, it'd be like if you were like, if my mom was like, well, why can't you just play the game from last year? I'd be like, what are you, crazy? Like, I need Stephon Marbury, not Charlie Ward, as the Knicks point guard now.
Right. And the dunk contest and the 3-point contest.
Well, yeah, but my point, but that's not what drove me. That was an asset, but that's not what drove me to buy the games back then. So now I think kids just don't care as much. I still, you use the word quality. I still think the quality innovates every year to accommodate, these sort of individual aspects of the game. But I just think that that's so much of where things are now.